won't let me out. They won't let me out. I'm locked up. That's right. The number one criminal of all time. The greatest criminal of all time. Hasan Piker coming to you live from also stolen territory. I don't know exactly who they stole this part of the land from, but stolen indigenous territory, stolen indigenous land. We're live. We're alive. And yeah. What can I say? I mean, there's obviously an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed, and I probably will get to it. But before I get to that, obviously, this is the time for personal news. It's 11:23 a.m. Pacific time, and it is 2:23 p.m. Eastern time here where I'm at in New York City, New York. Okay? And oh boy, oh buddy, things have materialized. As you guys know, actually, normally I would say I'm a chud ass loser, so I have nothing going on in my life, but this is the one instance where I won't say that. I do have shit going on in my life. A lot of shit, actually. And no, it's not the news. Hold on one second. I'm going to play this. For you guys while I go grab my coffee.
Voters ahead of 2028. But they'll have to compete with the digital bro world's new rising star, far-left activist Hasan Piker.
And what I really want is whether it's social media influencers on Twitch or YouTube like Hasan Piker or other kind of promoters of hate.
Optimism. You must always continue to organize. You must always continue to agitate, because the quicker we can create enough pressure that causes the American state to recalculate its suicide pact with Israel, the quicker we can save as many Palestinian lives possible. Now, I shouldn't have probably said those words, and I shouldn't have said any of the words I've been saying. You know what I mean? I just want to start off by saying, obviously, this is the number one broadcast for loving Donald Trump. This is the number one pro Donald Trump broadcast. No one on the planet loves Donald Trump as much as I do. Mr. President, I love you. I think about you all the time. I love the ballroom. I love the ballroom the most. Number one ballroom defending podcast. I'm gonna act right. Okay. I'm gonna donate to the ballroom. Actually, I think we need to donate to the ball. I'm gonna do a fundraiser with this community for the ballroom. How about that? Federal authorities took me to Area 51 for being a house on my head and alienate my ass. Now, of course, maybe some of you are unfamiliar with what's going on, and maybe many of you are completely aware of what's going on, but last night I ended the broadcast. I was tired, and I thought, I'll just go to bed. I'll just go to sleep early. I have to wake up really early to do a photo shoot for a magazine. This was probably one of the craziest photo shoots that I've done so far, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second. But I, on the other hand, got a text message, or rather a voicemail, from a Fox News producer saying that I had been subpoenaed by the federal government. And I was like, that's strange. Asking for comment. And before I could even respond to the journalist, an article materialized on the timeline. I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. But let's just say that kind of fucked my whole night up. it fucked my plans up. I still was able to do a little tub sesh, get in the tub, get in the hot tub, get in the bathtub, a little bit of salt, cook myself up like a lobster, and then go to bed and wake up early. Now, the reason why I had to wake up early was because I had a photo shoot. Okay, I had a photo shoot this morning. That's what I was doing this morning. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had a fitting for this photo shoot before I started the broadcast. And the stylist, who had also worked on Marty Supreme, by the way, had so many sick pulls that were vintage that I literally bought some of them. Straight up. I bought some of them off of her. I was like, if you're not going to return these, can I buy these? And she was like, sure. Including the pants that I'm wearing right now. And I did a photo shoot this morning. All morning. Woke up at 5. Couldn't really sleep. Couldn't really sleep at all. Went to bed at like around 12. Wait, what? I'm glad you hired a stylist. I didn't hire a stylist. There was a stylist for the magazine photo shoot that I'm doing, that I did. And she brought racks of clothes to do a fitting yesterday to pick out outfits for this magazine photo shoot. And I liked some of them because they were vintage. There was a vintage Armani suit, Giorgio Armani. And normally shit doesn't fit me at all, but she had like pulled stuff somehow that actually fit. So I was like, well, I was gonna purchase stuff like this regardless. And yeah, I bought some of it. My name is Giovanni Giorgio. Anyway, but it was a great photo shoot overall. It was very professional. There's still one more. You're perfect with the vintage Armani look, bro. You should try and source more. Yeah, I mean, it was super cheap too. Like the pants I'm wearing are like Armenigildo Zegna, and I think they were like $30 or something. Secondhand, vintage, reseller. It was dope. It was nice. But yeah, obviously some more important things going on. Some more important things going on in the world, in my world, and specifically in U.S. politics, and oftentimes my world and the world of U.S. politics unfortunately merge. Zegna is hella expensive, bro. What the fuck? Yeah, these pants that I'm wearing right now are Zegna, $30. Because when you... Are you allowed to disclose what magazine the photo shoot was for? No. Let's go. $30. Great pants. What more? I know. But yeah, we'll get to obviously the elephant in the room that I will be addressing. But that's what I spent my morning doing, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's not great. The news is not great. Okay. I mean, it's bullshit, but still not great that, you know, they're after your boy. They're up my ass. And I'll obviously get into it right now. I'll tell you all about it, but let me blast off real quick. We will free you, brother. Yeah, free me.
Free me. Free me. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm you know, I'm about to be seemingly made an example of in America's America. I wouldn't even say creep towards fascism. America's galloping towards fascism. But we shall see. Great timing. The timing since the interview yesterday is crazy, though. Yeah, I saw a lot of like weird suspicions that, you know, oh, this is because of Elon Musk. Guys, that's not how this works, okay? The federal government doesn't if the federal government can do things at the mercy of billionaires like Elon Musk could have made a boss call at some point, but getting a subpoena from the federal government, that takes time. It's an administrative warrant, not dissimilar to the ones that ICE uses. So there's technically no real authority backing it, from what I understand. But we'll obviously, you know, I haven't gotten anything yet, so I don't know. I don't fucking know anything. But you know, this is a long-term process. So this is not new, if that makes sense. If you think that this was like, you know, this happened because of Elon Musk or something, well, no, that's not the case. Right? No, it's not a congressional subpoena. It's from the DOJ and the Treasury. The white boys got you, inshallah. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get into that right now. We're blasting off. Hope you're lawyered up. Yes, I'll get lawyered up. Don't worry. Trump targets Hasan Piker. Someone wrote a script for you. Yeah, I saw. Hasan is on the stand. Senator Kennedy recounts Dr. Jihad's cussy lesson verbatim. Mr. Piker, do you think somebody making these remarks should be conducting humanitarian aid missions? Hasan smirks and lowers his finger. Fa! Rings out in the congressional hall. Acquitted. Yeah. Thank you, Themasius, for the playlist. God forbid a white boy get a little motion. Get Legal Eagle on your team. Guys, that's not how this works. I need like a fucking... I need a team, most likely of First Amendment, like lawyers that are specifically... lawyers that are you know, experienced in federal court cases. Possibly a lawyer... Possibly a lawyer for First Amendment related issues as well. And then also one that is adept and knowledgeable on sanctions and the Treasury and OFAC in particular. So it's not like no disrespect to Legal Eagle, who is a brilliant lawyer, I assume, but very different type of lawyer is necessary in this situation. So do not talk about what's going on before talking to a lawyer. I mean, there's nothing guys, I have not had anything happen to me yet. Like, technically, nothing has happened to me. It's just Fox News is saying things are happening to me. So, and it's not like there's anything that I've done. But the unfortunate reality here is you don't really have to do anything for this government to decide that they want to do something with you. Let chat be your lawyer. What is this? You was never Muslim before. You was Shia. That's why you were brainwashed. You was never Muslim before. You was Shia. That's why you were brainwashed. Socialism led people to be poor. Even capitalism. Democracy is a fairy tale lie. Legal Eagle has a huge team of like 200 plus. He's not just one guy. Yeah, I know. Anyway, the liberals at the politics sub are defending you. Fed subpoena Hasan Piker, Medea Benjamin over Cuba trips. R/politics defending me is crazy. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson interviewed Putin and did propaganda for him. Interviewed him in Moscow, Lamau, for going to Cuba. Didn't that Shirley fellow also go there? Why isn't he on that list? Yes, but see, Shirley went there to parrot the talking points provided to him by Trump. Nick Shirley thought he went to Cuba, but he just accidentally locked himself in a Miami airport bathroom for 45 minutes. Cuban Americans who like to make claims about government repression in Cuba are celebrating Trump going after Hasan Piker and others who were part of the convoy that delivered aid to Cubans. If you haven't seen their dishonesty yet, you might want to start paying attention. So let's get started. So I'm hit in the face with this text message, or this voicemail rather, from fucking Fox News producer, and it's a little bit alarming. It's a little bit shocking. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what do you? I'm a little bit confused because I'm like, why does Fox News know about something that apparently is going on in my life that I didn't know about? Right? Eric Garland. If Treasury OFAC bothers to send you a subpoena, it's not your week. I didn't know what OFAC was until season 2 of Friends and Neighbors on Apple. Just to be clear, it's not like you won the lottery. OFAC, yeah, I know what OFAC is. I'm very familiar with what OFAC is. You want to know why I'm very familiar with what OFAC is? Because we fucking filed OFAC clearances before going to Cuba. I've talked about it extensively, as a matter of fact. Our trip had to be OFAC compliant. This is bullshit. But, yeah, the very same reason why Fox News got this story before anyone else, and the very same reason why the suspicions within the subpoena, according to Fox News, are ridiculous, is because this is very clearly another intimidation tactic from the American government. It is a way to silence dissent. It is a way to silence dissent. It's a way to actively tie up activists, dissidents alike. It's a way to try to have a chilling effect on speech. And some people, it seems, some likely and some unlikely people, have been cheering it on. We'll be talking about that in a second as well. You might need Zoran Magic for this one. Yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, I don't think Zoran Momdani is going to be doing that anytime soon, because I'm not a concerning incident that took place in the New York City region of America. You know what I mean? Highly doubt it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I don't know. But anyway. So let's get started with the article, I guess. By the way, I said Fox News, federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as a part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime, Fox News Digital has learned. Now, very clearly, they leaked this story to Fox News ahead of time because it's an intimidation operation. It's not a serious investigation into serious misconduct or anything. It's just a way to prod and intimidate and tie people up with paperwork in a costly legal battle and basically punish them. It's costly for the government too, by the way, but obviously we are, we're living in a unique, interesting time where the government loves wasting taxpayer dollars, as evidenced by the last thing that Trump did, the $1.776 billion slush fund. The government loves wasting taxpayer dime. In any case, Fed subpoena Hasan Piker, Medea Benjamin over Cuba trips. Investigation part of a broader dragnet involving as many 40 American citizens who joined Marxist convoy to Havana. First on Fox, breaking news. Federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as a part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime, Fox News Digital has learned. Piker and Benjamin are among those caught in a federal inquiry into whether activists who traveled to Cuba in March violated U.S. sanctions laws through the financing, coordination, or delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with the Cuban government personnel or entities on the island. The administrative subpoenas were sent to the pair by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. So not only were we OFAC compliant, but I'm also doubly protected because I didn't just go to Cuba on a humanitarian aid trip. I went to Cuba with a journalism visa. So I actually got a press visa from the Cuban government as well. So this is not only an attack against, activists and people who want to do humanitarian aid work to countries that the United States of America is starving. But beyond that, I was there to interview people. I interviewed regular Cubans and ordinary Cubans in Cuban society. I interviewed doctors, and I also interviewed government officials. And not only is this not illegal, but it's also out there, It's not a secret. If you go to my YouTube page right now, you can see it. It's actually right here. I went to Cuba. This is what I saw. Mini doc. I pretty much filmed everything that I did there. And I put it into this mini doc. Here I am interviewing the foreign minister. This is not illegal. This is actually very legal. So, kind of strange. Also, one of the things that they brought up is really funny. The administrative subpoenas called Requests for Information, or RFI, seek financial, logistical, and communications information revolving around the trips the two widely bragged about making to the island nation in March with the delegations of the Nuestra America Convoy, or Our America Convoy, from a global network of communist sympathizers, activists, and influencers who brought supplies to the country's ruling Communist Party of Cuba, according to the sources familiar with the matter. The investigation is part of a broader effort by officials at the Treasury, State, and Justice Departments to curb malign foreign influence operations inside the United States, particularly activities tied to support for political violence, extremist movements, or acts the U.S. government classifies as terrorism. The scrutiny reflects growing concern among federal authorities and lawmakers over whether foreign actors and aligned organizations are attempting to shape American political discourse, mobilize activists, and sow discord and normalize rhetoric that could encourage violence or undermine U.S. national security interests. Ken Klippenstein believes that this is a tie into the NSPM-7, the whole counterterrorism initiative that they have. According to the American government, it's actually terrorism to be anti-fascist. It's terrorism to be anti-capitalist. And now I guess it's terrorism to send humanitarian aid. To deliver humanitarian aid to an island nation that we have starved and caused tremendous suffering to. Incredible. So yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's just pure evil, I guess. According to a Fox News Digital investigation, Singham has pumped $278 million into nonprofit groups that have pushed pro-China, pro-Cuba, anti-U.S. narratives and street protests for almost a decade since his marriage in February 2017 to Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans. who's also being investigated for her role in the March trip. Code Pink received $1.3 million from Singham after he married Evans. This is Jody Evans, who I took a photo with. They love this photo for some reason. I don't know why. She's one of the co-founders of Code Pink. She's wonderful. And it's like all of this investigation, at least the high notes, make it seem like they just saw stuff on like New York Post and on Twitter and were like, oh, this must be valid. In mid-March, organizations in the Singham Network, from the Venceremos Brigade to People's Forum, a hub for communist cause in New York City, were leaders of the Nuestra American Convoy, which included an estimated 650 delegates from 33 countries and 120 organizations. The organizations included Democratic Socialists of America, a U.S. nonprofit that promotes Piker as a headline member. By the way, that's so funny. The DSA does not promote me as a headline member. But, you know, fuck it. We ball. The investigation of the Office of Foreign Assets Control is part of a broader dragnet that includes as many as 40 American citizens who joined foreign nationals, including a controversial Brazil activist, Tiago Avia, who are part of a global network of anti-U.S. Marxist, communist, and socialist. Additional subpoenas are expected. The administrative subpoenas mark a serious escalation by the Trump administration against a far-left nonprofit activist network that has spent years defending communist regimes from Cuba to China, while presenting its work as humanitarian aid, anti-war organizing, and solidarity with people oppressed by the imperialist U.S. colonial power. Yeah, because that's what it is. It's literally, it's an anti-war initiative. Code Pink is an anti-war initiative, an anti-war movement that wants to stop American wars. Yeah. Badge of honor means you touched a nerve. In my case, they never actually served the subpoena, and I bet your lawyers can successfully move the quash. Hopefully. There's more, though. The story gets even dumber. As reported, a Fox News digital investigation has identified 145 U.S. nonprofits and activist groups with $1 billion in collective revenues that Justice and Treasury Department officials are investigating as a part of a wider influence campaign by Cuba's communist regime and foreign actors. First of all, Cuba doesn't even have $1 billion. Like, this is why it's insane, but also kind of funny in a weird way. Whenever people are like, "Oh, I bet you're getting paid by the Cuban government," bro. They don't have money. With what money? You think they got money? Are you fucking insane? It's one of those things where I can't tell if people are just like so used to only at advancing causes for monetary reasons, like they just can't possibly fathom the idea that someone would want to genuinely help the Cuban population, genuinely demand that we stop, killing Cubans with our economic terrorism, right? Like, what money do they have to give me money? You know what I mean? It's very stupid. Anyway. According to public statements, it's believed that delegation members stayed at a hotel the U.S. State Department has put on a Cuba restricted list. Oh, this is what's really funny. This is not a part of the subpoena, I don't think. This journalist is just adding this on. I haven't received the subpoena yet, so I have no idea. But let me tell you why. Because that's not real. We didn't actually stay at the wrong hotel. That was just something that people made up on Twitter, except for an American citizen who recently did violate OFAC and stayed at a hotel that America does not allow American citizens to stay in. It wasn't me, though. It was Nick Shirley. Literally, the hotel that Nick Shirley was in was actually on the state sponsor of terrorism list. Okay? We obviously didn't stay at a hotel that we obviously didn't stay at a fucking hotel that the American government has made illegal to stay in. Nick Shirley, on the other hand, whether because he's a fucking idiot or because, it doesn't really matter what he does because he's basically an agent for the state, did stay in a hotel that was illegal for him to stay in. I personally think it's idiotic. You should be able to stay in whatever fucking hotel you want to, by the way. I think it's a totally ridiculous restriction imposed upon Americans and Americans only, mind you. Right? It's hilarious that the mouth-breathing rightoid accidentally violated U.S. Treasury rules, yet they're targeting the scary Marxists for literally following the law. Yeah. But yeah, if this is the investigation, that's hilarious. This is just like headline chasing. The federal government got clickbaited by Twitter headlines. Yeah. Federal government targeting people because they mobilize activists, sow discord, and normalize rhetoric, as suggested here, would be a blatant violation of the First Amendment. So yeah, not only is this this is very clearly a First Amendment violation. And I don't know if this is the one that breaks the dam, where they just like try to figure out trumped up charges to like actively prosecute people who've done nothing wrong, mind you. But they just do this to finally tackle fucking the First Amendment. I don't know. When's the court date? I don't know anything. I don't know anything because I have not received a subpoena. Okay? I need you to understand something. I have not received a subpoena. I don't know. There is no information that I have received. Wasn't most of what you did? Yes, everything we did in Cuba was cleared with the State Department. Or not the State Department, the Treasury. This is also coming from that very same regulatory body. This is coming from the Treasury. Treasury is the one that handles sanctions, ridiculous or not. To be, you have to be personally served. So not only is this bad reporting by Fox News the most basic detail, defamatory, but they're directly outed themselves as collaborators. Guys, of course they're collaborating. What do you mean? Yeah. Yes. The whole point of this is to get this article out there and to basically tell people like, oh, you got some opinions about the Trump administration? Oh, you want to aid the starving children that we are starving? The Trump administration is starving? Well, that's illegal now. Okay, we're going to make that illegal, or at least we're going to try to make that illegal. The whole point of this is to leak this to Fox News ahead of time to start the process of like, threatening people. U.S. law imposes broad restrictions on financial transactions involving Cuba, primarily through the Cuban Asset Control Regulations, administered by the Office of Foreign Assets Control. Those rules generally prohibit unlicensed travel-related transactions and exports of goods or services to Cuba, with limited exceptions for journalism, humanitarian projects, and educational programs and certain activities meant to support the Cuban people. Again. Did they sneak taking these photos of you? Yes. I talked to some people and I suspect that they got creep shots of me in the morning as Kaya was peeing before I go to the gym. And then they also got they got creep shots of someone who works with me as well. Which was really fucking annoying. That means that they just parked outside my house all the way back in motherfucking January, like months ago, and have just been taking photos of me, which is definitely weird. It's a violation of my privacy, but, it is what it is. Piker, one of the most influential political streamers on Twitch, has built a massive online following with a mix of Marxist politics, anti-American commentary, and inflammatory statements that have repeatedly drawn public backlash. On March 10th, Piker posted a photo of himself on Instagram with the message, "I'm going to Cuba." In an Instagram post from the trip, Singham's wife, Evans, smiled widely in Havana, wearing a red and white Palestinian scarf, or keffiyeh, around her neck, while standing beside Piker, who looked seriously into the camera. On a live stream this week, Piker said that the Justice Department's indictment of Cuban leader Raul Castro was a sham with no legal standing, designed to create a pretext for escalating U.S. pressure on the island. Piker argued that Trump is acting like a playground bully. By the way, no notes. I cooked on that. Every single thing that I said there is correct. Fox News Digital recently observed Piker outside his Los Angeles home, escorting his dog Kaya outside of the house for a bathroom break early one morning. Kaya, a large breed dog that is a mix of Tibetan Mastiff, Chow Chow, and St. Bernard, has been a beloved subject of an online campaign dubbed Free Kaya over allegations Piker trained Kaya with a shock collar that transmits painful stimuli as a part of behavioral training. At one moment, Piker silently stood over Kaya, gestured with a finger for her to return to the house after relieving herself. Later, Kaya was observed being walked and driven by a woman leaving Piker's home. This is insane, right? By the way, once again, this proves many different things that I have been saying conclusively, which is that, Kaya goes on walks while I'm streaming. And it's really funny that people just wouldn't believe me at all. And now there is this, it's in the fucking paper. Okay. I like that they framed it like I was doing something unbelievably sinister. I like that they are framing this as like something sinister where I pointed to the house. Benjamin has made her mark as an activist gadfly who stages media spectacles at congressional hearings, defense industry trade conferences, and the homes of government officials, yelling in invectives, chants, and slogans, branding herself as anti-war, but actually running a pattern of messages denouncing the U.S. and uplifting communist and authoritarian regimes of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Chinese Communist Party and the Communist Party of China. Communist Party of Cuba. Fox News Digital recently observed Benjamin outside her colorful home in Washington, D.C. with her partner and fellow activist, T.Gay Berry, who accompanied her on the trip to Havana. What? Someone also noticed the creep shots disprove that you use a shock collar. It doesn't, guys. This has been discussed a million times over and over and over again. Yes. Not only does Kaya get numerous walks, but yes, she doesn't have a shock collar. It doesn't even matter. You think my fucking haters give a shit? It was never about the truth, okay? Anyway, Piker's been criticized as saying America deserved 9/11, a remark he later said it was poorly phrased, and for past comments about Representative Dan Crenshaw, Navy SEAL veteran who lost an eye in Afghanistan. More recently, critics, including Representative Richie Torres, by the way, shouts out to all the Democrats who are up my ass and have been up my ass, the Israel First Democrats. Thank you. You are giving ample, you're giving ample permission. You're giving ample permission to the fascists that want to take away not just my rights, but your rights as well. So, see you in the camps, I guess. More recently, critics, including Representative Richie Torres, have accused Piker of amplifying anti-Semitic rhetoric after October 7, while Piker has denied anti-Semitism and said his criticism is aimed at Israel, not Jews. The larger group under scrutiny includes Isra Hersey, the daughter of Representative Ilhan Omar, according to sources, with investigators examining whether Omar may have funded her daughter's travel to Cuba. Omar didn't respond to an early request for comment about her daughter's trip. Piker, Benjamin, Singham, Evans, and Code Pink did not respond to requests for comment. Yeah, it's because you literally fucking sent me a request for comment and then immediately published. Not to say that I would probably give Fox News a comment anyway, but according to sources, the Office of Foreign Assets Control is also investigating Code Pink's DC coordinator, Olivia DiNucci, a former Division I basketball star from Emerson College in Boston. Her unassuming girl-next-door persona often gains her entry into coveted spaces, and then she disrupts with loud theatrics. She joined a convoy led by the Brazilian activist Avila. A lot of this, by the way, does still have a lot to do with Israel. It's not just about Cuba, but it's also about Israel as well. Why bother reading someone's comment if you're just going to immediately tell them that it doesn't matter? Wait, what? That's what you're upset about? Like right now? I can't even begin to explain to you how hard you must lock in, my friend. Please. Anyway. Yeah. The Office of Foreign Assets Control can impose civil penalties under a strict liability standard, meaning the government does not have to prove intent. The Justice Department, by contrast, generally must show that a defendant willfully violated the law in a criminal case, often through evidence of concealment, evasion, or knowing participation in prohibited transactions. In a long live stream on Saturday, Piker interviewed another influencer, Ashley St. Clair, about having a baby with billionaire Elon Musk, railed against Trump, defended the communist leaders of Cuba, and Free Associated about other topics in the news, including a shooting outside the White House, decrying the chaos in America. It's fucking terrifying, he said. Good. Our citizens should be fighting for America, not against her. Sometimes I think people forget you're a real person with real things happening to you. Yes. I've read through all the SEC state exceptions for Cuba travel. The main concern is whether you maintain a schedule consistent with full-time work in journalism, humanitarianism, etc., which you obviously did, and we can see that, given you were live and made a documentary in like 4 days. Yeah. So... just finished watching your Breath of the Wild playthrough. Had no clue you were a political commentator until news on X that you've been subpoenaed. So you know how you said once they come for you that we're cooked? Does this mean we are now in fact cooked? We'll see. But the author is a psycho, it seems. Democratic Socialists use the rose in their graphics, branding, and protest signs, symbol of their ideological belief. Let me break it down. Hasan Piker is one of the most prominent members of the Democratic Socialists of America. First of all, not a member. Not an official member, at least. Maybe an honorary one, but not an official one. But fine, whatever. I've long maintained the position that I am, org agnostic, although I love the Democratic Socialists of America the most, for sure. A DSA political candidate, Oliver Larkin, expressed support for Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin in the face of subpoenas from Treasury Department from their March trip to Cuba in possible violation of sanctions. Cuba is a one-party state, the Communist Party of Cuba, Partido Comunista de Cuba, PCC, the only political party in Cuba. Democratic Socialists of America is a key member of the transnational network backing the Communist Party of Cuba. So do you guys see what's going on here? They're trying to get everyone tied up. Like they're trying to get every like left activism network in this country, like all matter of like activism, whether it be socialist, whether it be anti-capitalist, all this stuff. What is she said? Hashtag free Kaya. Hello, Hasan the Hun. Surrender your ego and accept one of these offers for a new home for Kaya. You curse at her all the time. You were clearly frustrated with Kaya. She isn't a potted plant. Let her live. This is a Fox News reporter, dude. This is the Fox News reporter that wrote this article. That's incredible. That's so crazy. She isn't a potted plant. Let her live as a dog. Free to roam. A home. Move, run, meander. Hashtag free Kaya. Ironic because her literal fucking reporting, if you can call it that, shows that she is meandering and going on walks and going to parks and shit. It's like genuinely insane. She's reposting AUK 2000. Indeed, Hasan Piker is drawn to the attention of federal authorities for possibly aiding and abetting a communist regime. Then he has drawn the ire of dog lovers for allegedly using a shock collar on his cute dog Kaya. It's a public service to draw attention to both issues. It's unbelievable, dude. What a time to be alive, you know? But yeah, to which I said, of course, to this article, I said the American government would rather try to criminalize delivering aid to a country we've starved than punish the Epstein class. Max Blumenthal says, an unintentionally hilarious article by Zionist nutbag Asar Nomani to justify the House GOP's McCarthyite fishing expedition. Among the infractions committed by Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin are staying in the wrong hotel in Havana and this. To which I replied with, we stayed at the right hotel, by the way. The government got duped by a fucking viral Twitter post. I'm losing my mind. Isn't that crazy? If that's one of the suspicions, that's literally not a thing that happened. It's just not a thing that happened. What is this? Even if this were true, the difference is that Hasan regularly condemns the Armenian genocide while you worms long live for the latifundia days. What? Yeah. All of my sweatiest ops are also having a fucking field day with this, apparently. Okay. Reminder that red shirts and brown shirts going at it is actually super beneficial for libs and democracy, and it would be the stupidest thing in the universe for libs to intervene. To which Cuss says, this is just explicitly, first they came for the communists, by the way. Literally, there is a very famous poem by a German Lutheran pastor that starts with, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out, for I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, for I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. That's literally the major takeaway, is that it doesn't stop and end with your perceived ideological enemies, which I shouldn't even be your ideological enemy. If you are a liberal and this is a fascist administration, this is your opportunity. This is your moment to fucking buck up, okay? To nut up or shut up. This is your opportunity to say, you know, it's gone too far. Maybe I'm not the biggest fan of Hasan. We have our disagreements, but this is unbelievable. This is ridiculous. This is madness. And yet, these guys don't comprehend exactly what's happening. They don't understand what's taking shape in front of their eyes. They think this is a great opportunity to attack their own personal online internet enemies. One-sided beefs half the time. I think it is perhaps the greatest demonstration that a lot of these guys on the internet are simply led by these cults of personality, which is ironic because they say that about me all the time, but they're just led by cults of personality that don't really care about politics at all, don't really care about organizing at all, don't really care about the things that they ostensibly care about, or the way that they present themselves as caring about certain things like liberal values even. They just have personal vendettas. And unfortunately, many of their followers also just advance those personal vendettas. And that's what's really interesting, because this is one of those instances. This is a turning point, right? This is a turning point where our rights are all under attack by a fascist administration, by a fascist government. And it's very clear that there are a decent number of self-identifying liberals on the internet that come from these communities, whether it be the Sex Pestany community or whether it be Bad Empanada as well, who are not really invested in any sort of real political movement or even undermining the Trump agenda, and not even doing grievance politics necessarily, but just like doing grievance against individual Twitch streamers that they don't like. And it's very strange that their fan base advances those unbelievably selfish desires without even realizing that they're not doing anything remotely political. They're not doing anything remotely political at all. They think they are. They think this is political activism, but all they're doing is advancing the interests of a content creator that they watch, that they're a part of a cult. It's crazy. I'm uncommitted to standing with the podcaster Hasan Piker. He has done more than be lesser evil of the two evils against Trump if he wants to earn my support. First of all, this is an admission that you would vote for Donald Trump over me. Okay? I know you're trying to make a point, a really bad point, regardless. This idea that, like, I deserve to be punished by the Trump administration because you have perceived me engaging in some kind of slight against Kamala Harris when I dared to criticize Kamala Harris's failures in the campaign and warned that she was going to most likely lose, right? And they're all hitting the same line. I'm uncommitted on Hasan getting subpoenaed. He needs to stop acting like he's the lesser of two evils and instead be the good. Remember, these are all liberals. These are all liberals who claim to hate Trump. This is supposed to be their number one thing. The only thing they're supposed to hate is Donald Trump, right? They don't really even care about the policies all that much. As long as a D is doing the same exact kind of policies, they're fine with it. But they hate Donald Trump for, whether it's because of the way Trump moves, the way Trump operates. It doesn't matter. They're supposed to hate Trump. And they can't even do that right. Okay? This person says, does Hasan Piker think Kamala Harris would have done the same? Just wondering. To which I responded with, you'd cheer it on the same. You'd cheer it on just the same, big dog. Clearly. I think this proves that the Trump admin are the true agents of liberalism and saviors of centrism that the Democrats have consistently fallen short of being. You need to begin to moderate your radical opinions. Let Trump win again, which is good because he's going after you, but bad because he's mean to the goat Schumer. Yeah. And so many of these guys are just Israel first too, which is very strange. You know? Like, even fucking Third Way at least understands that, like, openly cheering this on would be a bad look for them because they're adults. They're fucking adults. They're adult enough to understand that this is a horrifying precedent. Right? Meanwhile, you got fucking the ultras to my left on the bad empanada side celebrating this, okay? Saying like, oh yeah, Trump administration should actually arrest this person because he's a real Zionist, which Trump, the straight up slave of Israel, is not the Zionist in this equation. I am, right? From their perspective. They're trying to justify this that way. So ridiculous. And then, of course, the anti-Trump Sexpestany is saying, reminder that red shirts and brown shirts going at it is actually super beneficial for libs and democracy, and it would be the stupidest thing in the universe for libs to intervene. Famously, fascists always stop at the edge cases. Famously. Yeah, another. Hasan Piker says Hasan Piker as he's dragged away by Guantanamo's dragged away to Guantanamo by Trump's secret police. Like, look. Yeah, this is amazing. According to public statements, it is believed that the delegation members stayed at a hotel the U.S. State Department has put on a Cuba restricted list as businesses directly tied to the communist government of Cuba designated as state sponsor of terrorism. We stayed at a legal hotel. This whole thing seems to stem from an erroneous viral tweet. Know who did actually stay at a sanctioned hotel? Nick Shirley. We know because he broadcast from it and told everyone he stayed there. Yeah. Anyway, but all of these like very annoying centrists on the timeline whose only thing that they hate whose only thing that they fucking supposedly hate is this guy from the Manhattan Institute thinks the subpoena is because of your wads of cash comment.
Has been living.
Yeah. It's not illegal. It's literally not illegal to bring cash and give fucking and purchase things in Cuban businesses, or even give it straight up on the fucking street if you want to give it out to people. That's literally a normal tourism function. There's a humanitarian purpose beyond it as well. None of this is illegal, guys. I always found it odd that when Hasan got off the plane in Cuba, one of the first people waiting to take a selfie with him was Jody Evans, Neville Roy Singham's wife and CodePink co-founder. I don't know. Maybe because she was one of the people that was on the fucking... She's a part of the CodePink organization. And CodePink was also there. Like, they were also, you know, putting... I don't even know the exact details, but they were also part of organizing the trip together. What? I know usually at the work of rallying the orgs you support, but in case they try to bring you to court, you should definitely consider coordinating with orgs you've been pushing and try to publicly mobilize your community and not only your defense, but use yourself as an example that the admin is hunting down real pro-American voices like Medea. Show them that your emotion goes beyond being a Twitter power user that's buddies with Elon's exes. Dude. Sometimes I welcome rotting for the rest of my life in a fucking federal penitentiary rather than having to deal with long-term community members who have like unbelievably snide remarks even in this fucking moment. Like, what the fuck? Dude, what? You're giving me advice on something that you don't know if I'm doing or not, okay? And then also you have to slap me with a fucking backhand and be like, all you technically do is just, you know, hang out with Elon Musk's exes, dude. Why don't you do some real fucking organizing? Well, bitch, I did. Okay. And guess what? The government was like, we're throwing your ass in jail. Fuck you. Okay. What do you want me to do? Literally, people are so funny. They'll be like, oh, Hasan, all you do is fucking sit at home. You asshole. You don't do anything. You sit at home and you collect checks. You say, subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service. And you get your legion of adoring fans to subscribe to your Twitch stream, right? All you do is sit at home. You don't do shit. I go out and I do shit. Then they say, oh, you're performative. You're performative. You're LARPing. You're LARPing. You wore a shirt. You wore an expensive shirt while you were doing things. If you were doing real things, the government would be after you. Now the fucking government is after me, and they're like, well, the government's after you, and it's good, actually. Well, at a certain point, you have to realize, like, maybe this gripe has nothing to do with what I'm doing or what you think I could be doing more of, and instead has everything to do with the fact that you just have been geared into despising me from all of the fucking negatively framed clips all over the goddamn right-wing algorithms. Hasan's new pharmacist, thank you for the 10-tier on gifted subs. Jaeger Larson, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Anyway. Very acadb. Thank you. It's very, very strange, dude. Like, these guys are straight up saying, like, it's not criminal, but it should be criminalized, basically. That's what it is. Any chance that unhinged Fox News author made it up? Probably not. But again, I don't know because I haven't received a fucking subpoena, so I have no idea. I don't know. So there is that side of the story as well. Not an ideal way to add to your lore. I know. You can't pay for this kind of publicity, fam. Okay, guys, I'll be honest. I prefer not to have this publicity. Okay, if you think that this is just like, it's good. I know some of you are looking for a silver lining in this situation, but this is not good. Okay, there is no world where having to deal with like a federal case is actually a good moment. I would much rather not have to deal with this at all. Okay. But yeah, Austerity Stuff says Dem leaders need to speak out against this gross dictatorial abuse of power and the law to chill dissent. And I'm not talking simply progressives. Yeah. Hopefully. The TMZ moms thinks is because you had Elon's baby mama on. They see on your side. Yeah. But yeah, that's where we're at. Problem is the Dem leadership hates the left too. Yeah, but this is one of those moments where they actually do have to say something because they understand that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Because guess what? While this is happening, Face the Nation had Josh Gottheimer on alongside Mike Lawler to talk about how there's a condemnation bill on me. That's what happened a couple hours ago. CBS News Face the Nation looked at a situation where this right-wing fascist government is engaging in unprecedented actions against the First Amendment and decided to bring on one Democrat and one Republican congressperson to also attack that very same person that's targeted by the state. They didn't hit me up. They didn't hit me up to be like, hey, what do you think about this? This ridiculous attack against you and against this humanitarian aid flotilla, against the First Amendment. Like, what do you think the impact is here? What do you think the goals are? They were like, no, actually, let's add more fucking fuel to the fire. And let's have Mike Lawler and Josh Gottheimer on Face the Nation to talk their shit.
I do want to get to
which is not surprising. I mean, it's CBS, right? It's ZBS, let's be real. But it's just like, it's so clear. It's so clear what the fuck is going on. I mean, this is collaboration. This is collaboration. The reason why they're doing it is because, again, they don't like that I talk shit about Israel. They don't like that I am a loudmouth, a rabble rouser. And they want to fucking lock me up and throw away the key.
issue of anti-Semitism, because we wanted to have you both on together because you are working together on ways to address the rise in anti-Semitism in the U.S. Congressman Gottheimer, I understand the value in lawmakers drawing attention to some of the really vile incidents that we have seen in this country lately. The stabbing of a Jewish man on the streets of New York, the shooting at the Capitol Jewish Museum here in Washington. But what can Congress realistically do about this problem?
Well, we know since October 7th and Hamas's terrorist attacks, anti-Semitic incidents in the country are up 70%. Mike and I in both our states have some of the top anti-Semitic numbers of anti-Semitic incidents in the entire country. It's totally unacceptable. And what's happening now is it's far too often in our politics on both sides, right? Whether it's Hasan Piker, who's a streamer on the left, or Candace Owens on the right, who are campaigning with candidates around the country, actually encouraging some of the most vile anti anti-Semitic language, like Hasan Piker, who calls
in your
Jews
party
pig dogs, Candace Owens, who
in
denies
your
the
party
Holocaust. We've got
in your party in your party in your party. You're a Democrat. In your party, it's an anti-Trump initiative. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're putting up fighters to fight for the Democrats to advance this cause against Israel, which 90% of the Democratic base agrees on. They're on my side, Josh, not on yours.
candidates in both sides who've embraced them, who've made insane comments, like the woman in Texas this past week, a Democratic candidate who said that Jews should be in camps. You've got Dan Bilzerian in Florida, who said we should exterminate Jews. None of this should be acceptable. And Mike and I, whether it's through the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which we passed out of the House last Congress on defining anti-Semitism and have introduced again this Congress, or both of us condemning Piker and Owens in legislation, both of us believe deeply that we need to stand up to this. And Mike's been very outspoken, as have others, and our leadership on both sides needs to make it very clear time and again that you don't stand with people like Owens and Piker, and they're not welcome in our districts, and none of this language is acceptable either. I think it's very important.
Congressman Lawler, why do you believe that fringe candidates like the one that Congressman Gottheimer just mentioned sense that there is a market for that sort of hate to begin with? Is there some kind of permission structure that has been created in both of your parties?
Well, I don't think there's any question that anti-Semitism...
Dude. First of all, it's ironic that he's talking about how I'm such a bad... I'm such a malign force or malignant force in American politics. But then also at the same time, he brings up Maureen Galindo, which is not a candidate that I've endorsed. So that doesn't really make sense, does it? Like, if this is what I like, I would probably endorse her, right? Well, I didn't. This is just it. These guys don't have a fucking leg to stand on. They're just chirping. The problem is, even though the overwhelming majority of the population don't believe the chirp, don't agree with the chirp, and actually despise this kind of chirping, it still doesn't matter, right? Because the machine... Yeah, by the way, they mentioned Candace Owens very little in this conversation. Have you guys noticed that? They literally say Candace Owens is a Holocaust denier and move on. As though that's not a far, far bigger offense than what they try to hit me with. And then the rest of the conversation is just about me, which goes to show the point here is not to fucking disavow Candace Owens. That's just to save face. They want to attach this bill to someone who is actually anti-Semitic so they can call me an anti-Semite. And they're not even interested in the actual anti-Semitism at all. They're more so interested in me, a person who is not fucking anti-Semitic, but is being called one because I'm anti-Israel. Because these guys do not give a shit about anti-Semitism. They care about anti-Zionism.
Has been, condoned by folks across the political aisle. And from my vantage point, it is something that all of us have a responsibility to push back against, regardless of party. These candidates are coming forward. They feel it is okay to blame Jews for whatever ills there are in the world. Obviously, I experienced just last week Rand Paul's son screaming at me in a bar because he thought I was Jewish. When in fact I'm Irish, Italian, Catholic. And regardless of whether I was or I wasn't Jewish, the idea
he has apologized
that
for that,
people feel
correct?
it is okay to engage in...
I like that she's correcting him on Rand Paul's son, but no corrections are issued when Josh Gottheimer is like, Hasan Piker is an anti-Semite. You know? That's cool. I'm glad that you're correcting the record on Rand Paul's son. He's like, well, he's apologized for it. Oh, okay, nice. That's cool. Because he actually, I'm noticing a trend here. Have you guys noticed? I'm noticing a trend here where the actual instances of anti-Semitism are just brushed aside. The actual instances of anti-Semitism are just brushed aside, and everybody pisses their fucking pants about someone who's objectively not anti-Semitic, fights against anti-Semitism, but is uncompromisingly anti-Israel, anti-Zionist. Interesting.
That he did ultimately, but the idea that people feel it's okay to engage in that type of conduct is shameful. And I think what Josh and I are trying to do in putting this resolution forward is to say enough, and to say to both parties, we have to police our own. We cannot allow this. We cannot support candidates who engage in rank, vile anti-Semitism. The Jewish population is about 2% of the United States, and meanwhile, it's over 50% of the hate crimes that are experienced. Something's got to give.
Got it. I do want to.
It is pretty crazy that they're just like, yeah, he called all Jews pig dogs or something. That's not the case. Like, that's not a thing that happened. Okay. You just, again, made that shit up, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Tiny nation, tiny nation. You don't police Trump at all? Fuck off, Mike. No, Mike loves Trump. What do you mean? Mike is begging Daddy Trump to come in and defend Mike's chances at re-election. He fucking hates his sons. I think it's literally because they're ugly as shit. They're losers, but also they're ugly as shit, and I think Trump hates that.
The Trump White House is going after left-wing political influencer and Twitch streamer Hasan Piker, and it is absolutely ridiculous. So in this video, I'm going to break down what happened, speculate maybe why it happened now, discuss the right-wing influencer.
Oh God, I hope Rational National doesn't think that this happened because I had Ashley St. Clair on the broadcast, because this kind of stuff doesn't happen overnight. These 3 Fox News guests say they want Cuba to become a second Israel. Oh, God. It's not just that you're an anti-Zionist. They recognize that Democrats and young people are against Israel, but they see you campaigning with candidates who are anti-Israel and they are winning their races. Yeah, that's what it is. I think that's what is like genuinely pushing. These guys hate fucking democracy so much, dude. They hate democracy so much. The democratic wishes of the public can never be met, okay? The wishes of the majority can never be heard, all right? And they do a very good job of subverting democracy all the time. AIPAC does a very good job at this. They dump tens of millions of dollars. Look at what happened with Thomas Massie. Now, there is a counter to that faucet, that barrage of misinformation that actively subverts the democratic process. Now there is a platform for people who have these sorts of opinions. A platform that is competitive, maybe not as sizable or as vast as the entirety of the mainstream media, but a platform that is capable of reaching out to a lot of young voters and tying those young voters to politicians that actually want to listen to the demands of those young voters. Right? That's what the problem is here. It's not even just about Cuba, okay? It's not even just about Israel in general. It's about a collection of corporate interests. For the longest time, corporations could purchase goodwill and influence by buying ads on mainstream media. And most of the people would get their information from mainstream media. It was a consolidation, right? It was all coming from hand-selected, totally gate-kept, and oftentimes reliable vectors of communication, right? At first, there was a couple channels on TV. Then there were more, but there was still a selection process that you didn't just like arrive in front of a camera randomly overnight. You elevated in your career by going through the ranks, maybe playing ball with your management, saying certain things, not saying certain things, right? So there was a flow. There was a control over the flow of information that the public got. The public received information from what they perceived to be a diverse array of news outlets that would, at times when it's necessary, totally consolidate around a singular frame. We saw this with the justifications for waging an illegal war with Iraq, right? Back in the day. New York Times, as well as all the right-wing newspapers and all the liberal newspapers, were creating consent. Were creating a permission structure to go and invade Iraq illegally. And it worked to a certain degree. And it's not just about waging foreign wars. It's also about protecting corporate interests. There's a reason why the overwhelming majority of Americans want free healthcare, socialized medicine, and yet they never receive it. And yet you never hear that perspective in mainstream outlets. It's not just about Israel. It's not just about Iraq. These are foreign policy issues that are currently top of mind, but I'm using that as an analog. I'm using that to deliver a broader point because it goes beyond that, right? It goes beyond that. It's everything. It's labor rights. It's Medicare for all. It's anything that actually hits centers of profit. It's any institution that paywalls certain amenities, certain things that are necessary for survival. The media has has had a very good time, quote unquote, educating people this way, right? Making sure that the masses are subservient, making sure that the masses feel like change is not happening for one reason or another. Now, because of the internet and because of independent media, people can get information in real time from sources on the ground directly, and massive platforms such as my own that are not accountable to any corporate interest, that are simply accountable to their own audience and accountable to the truth. And some don't follow through on that promise, of course, but I do. Can just cut through that noise. And there's clearly a market for it. There's clearly a demand for it. And that's a threat. That's a threat to very powerful entities. It's a threat to billionaires who want to keep the masses sedated. However, beyond that, I've done the unthinkable. I didn't just stick to this platform. I started aiding insurgent campaigns. Okay? I didn't just stick to this platform. I'm very pragmatic. And I started working within the ranks of the Democratic Party, or within the primary system within the Democratic Party, candidates who are anti-Zionist. Candidates who place the interests of the population over the interests of corporate the interests of corporations and the interests of corporate profit. And they started winning. They started winning. Okay? That is terrifying. That's terrifying for a lot of powerful entities. That's why I keep repeatedly saying the Trump thing, which is that they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in the way. And it's true. If I just stuck to my own corner of the internet and I didn't actively work with, insurgency campaigns within the Democratic Party's primary system and find some success there, they wouldn't give a shit. They would just say, oh, he's just another guy who's irrelevant. He's just truly trying to farm as much revenue as possible. If I was the guy that my haters claim that I am, many of which are simply projecting their own lack of moral courage or moral clarity, for the record. They're all mercenaries, so they assume I am just the same. But if I was that grifter, this wouldn't be happening. It just wouldn't be happening. We are now at the precipice of 21st century McCarthyism. This is pure McCarthyism. The U.S. government is persecuting prominent left-wing anti-war voices for daring to challenge the empire's murderous illegal blockade of Cuba. This comes at a time when numerous reports say the U.S. military is preparing for a potential war in Cuba. This is fundamentally at odds with the spirit of America. This is fundamentally at odds with the First Amendment. It is completely unconstitutional and completely and utterly immoral and ridiculous. Michael Fusco Art, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Thank you. And what's crazy about it is it's not going to stop with me. It's not going to stop with me at all. So I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked that there would be so many people, K-hivers and people on the internet. They're not regular libs, by the way. These guys don't have a base. The pro-Israel ranks are definitely overrepresented on Twitter. The pro-Israel Democrats, if you were to just look at the internet, if you were to look at Twitter, for example, you would think that 90% of the Democratic Party's base is Israel first. Okay? You would arrive at a very wrong conclusion. You would think that every anti-Zionist is an ultra. Anyone and everyone that's critical of Israel is also a third worldist. And that the Democrats themselves, like Democratic Party's base of support, the voters, are all Israel first. That's what you would think. Which is interesting because sometimes the ultras are the ones who are making that argument. Right? And yet, in the real world, if you were to ask the average liberal, if you were to ask your parents, if you were to ask, people that you see at No Kings rallies and whatnot, how they feel about this, contrary to the celebrations of some of these unbelievably annoying, supposedly liberal-minded people, they would be horrified by it. In the real world, if you were to encounter a lifelong Democratic Party voter and ask them, hey, I know you don't like Donald Trump. You say you don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his administration is trying to actively prosecute a humanitarian aid mission while we're in the process of destroying this country known as Cuba. Most liberals would hear that and be horrified. They'd be like, what the fuck? That's unacceptable. Not the liberals on the internet. This is it. Have fun with that, buddy. And it's me talking about Israel, saying Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would one-to-one do the exact same shit in Israel, which is true. And they love posting this clip. And it's very obvious that I'm not talking about everything. I have said over and over again that, of course, there's very significant differences between Kamala Harris, or even marginal differences that are significant for real life consequences between Harris and between the Democrats and the Republicans. But this is not one of them, right? This is unfortunately not one of them. And the fact that we are trying to change that, And they're this upset about it because, like, I'm trying to change it. Many of you in this community are trying to change that reality. We're trying to make the Democratic Party an anti-Israel party, right? We're trying to get people elected that will actually push for an arms embargo on Israel, that will push for accountability on Israel for doing a genocide, right? But this guy basically proves that point. I said this clip was about the Democrats and Republicans' unipolarity on Israel, and it's the only thing you care about, which is why you're currently defending the Trump admin trying to jail dissidents for delivering humanitarian aid to a country where we're starving. He proves the point. Liberals that post this clip prove the point that they only care about Israel, like straight up. They only care about Israel, but they don't want to say it out loud. So they try to masquerade as though they're just unbelievable Kamala Harris defenders. Like they really love Kamala Harris. They really love the establishment wing of the Democratic Party, and that I was actively arguing against it. I was actively arguing against the Democrats and not saying Kamala Harris needs to communicate better how different she will be than Donald Trump on a litany of different issues, including but not limited to Israel. But this is proof. If you're Israel first, you will celebrate this decision. Yeah. Leftists trying to rally support for liberals they've spent their entire career attacking. No one expected you to stand up to Trump's fascist regime. That's what we've been saying, and you're proving the fucking point. I voted against Trump. Hasan urges viewers not to. I never urged my viewers not to vote for Kamala Harris, by the way. And that's a lie, but it doesn't even fucking matter, right? I never endorsed Kamala Harris. The only person I urged people not to vote for was Donald Trump. There was simply no way for you to twist an argument away from those simple facts. Sorry. Hasan urged viewers not to vote for Trump every day of the 2024 election. He just wouldn't tell them to vote for Kamala Harris when she was unwilling to call Israel's actions in Palestine a genocide or commit to ending aid to Israel. He even voted for Kamala told people that openly. Like, none of it matters because here's the thing. I've gone through this cycle already. I didn't endorse Kamala Harris. I refuse to do so. Okay? But here's what's important. Here's what's important. In the past, I had endorsed Joe Biden. In the past, I had endorsed Hillary Rodham Clinton. And liberals still yelled at me, saying I was a Bernie bro. And if you ask them why back then, they would say it's because you weren't excited enough in your endorsement of Hillary Clinton or Joseph Robinette Brandon. Right? So it's actually not about endorsements or voting at all. Because if they actually sincerely were worried about the pain that Trump is causing, as I was, and I still am, they would have demanded that the Harris campaign actually take this shit seriously. Right? But they don't care. One of the first things that a lot of liberals did on the timeline after Donald Trump became president was openly salivating at the prospect of getting their Latino neighbors deported. And if you recall back then, what did I say? I said, this is ridiculous. You are no better than the fascist Republicans if you actually agitate and actively lean in to the deportations regime that the fascist Republicans are implementing. If you are anti-fascist, you should not aid and abet the fascist regime. You should oppose it, even if it's someone that you dislike, even if its victims are people who you personally believe legitimately played a role in the election of Donald Trump. They were, of course, referencing Latino neighbors that had undocumented family members who had voted for Donald Trump. And there was plenty of them, right? That's what they were talking about. They were like, oh, I know my neighbor, one of my neighbors is undocumented. Their son or their father voted for Donald Trump, and I'm going to call ICE on them. That's what liberals were saying. For me, when the admin came after Jimmy Kimmel, what did I say? When the admin came after Jimmy Kimmel, I said, look, I don't agree with Jimmy Kimmel, but it doesn't fucking matter. It's irrelevant. This is a violation of the First Amendment. This is having a chilling effect on free speech, because I could understand that an administration that was attacking Jimmy Kimmel would just as easily throw my ass in prison. You know? But a lot of these guys, at least on the internet, don't see it that way. They think they will be spared. They think that they won't be sent to the concentration camps. And they're wrong. They are wrong. So you might be excited at the prospect of your favorite cult leader's least favorite content creator, me, potentially rotting in a federal prison. But you'll be there by my side in short order. I might be going to the camps, but you're going to be there too, buddy. This dude posted another 9-second out of
So much
context
for the
clip.
protest vote against Kamala just made it worse. This is such a
Hasan Piker wouldn't be able to say comma. What? Hasan Piker wouldn't be able to say if Kamala would do the same.
Donald
Curious,
Trump,
he keeps turning Democrats to save him, though. I love that they're literally like, this is 9 seconds now.
regardless of the hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for, regardless of the
Unbelievable. That's not even a full sentence. Who the fuck would believe this?
stupid attitude to have, because one, there's no inclination that Kamala Harris was the only thing that we knew about Kamala Harris was that she was literally doing the same exact thing that Joe Biden was doing, even if it actually harmed her electoral chances. Okay, that's number one. And number two, I maintained the position that Donald Trump was going to be worse than Kamala Harris. You're coming to someone who literally openly recognized that this was going to happen. I warned of this happening. And at the time, Kamala Harris, or at least any liberal that wanted to win, could have been like, yeah, we're going to actually put an end to this. We're going to put a stop to what Joe Biden is doing. And they chose not to. Okay? So saying that, like, oh, so much for the protest vote, especially when Kamala Harris lost by wider margins than the people that voted for someone else, is just idiotic.
That's the clip. That's the reason why it's 9 seconds long. Because if he were to play a 1 minute length clip, if he were to play the entire clip, many liberals would be very reasonable. They would go, wait a minute. He's not saying Kamala Harris is worse than Trump. He's not saying that that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are the same at all, as a matter of fact. He's saying that Kamala Harris did not do her job to communicate that difference adequately to as broad a public audience as possible. And what's also ironic about this is that these guys are trying to actively get liberals to be in favor of the Trump administration's attacks on free speech, which will end up harming them too. But even if I literally did say Kamala Harris fucking sucks, she's the worst president, Trump is better than Kamala Harris, which I never did because I don't believe that. But even if I were to have said that, would it be appropriate for the Trump administration to put me in jail? That's the question. That's the question people have to ask themselves. I don't think so. There are plenty of people who I don't fuck with at all, who I'm at odds with, who I'm ideologically against, from Jim Comey to Jimmy Kimmel, all the Jims. And I have defended them. I've defended them over and over again when the Trump administration decided to do insane things that put them in harm's way, that tried to, take their jobs away or tried to put them in jail. I don't like fucking Jim Comey at all. Because I understand the dangers of eroding certain safety nets. I understand the dangers of eroding certain defenses that the average citizen has against the government. There are many redeemable aspects of American life and even in the Constitution. This administration is tackling those redeemable aspects. This administration is tackling those phenomenal aspects of American theoretical democracy. Marked safe from being a disciple of a guy who would cheer on a Zionist fascist regime going after people who aided a communist country because I have interpersonal beef with one of their targets. If this doesn't make you rethink who you support, then you're fully beclowning yourself. You will twist yourself in the pretzel saying supporting Dems entryism makes you a Zionist, but supporting Miriam Adelson's bitch does not. Yeah. I hate posting him, but you even defended Sex Pestini's free speech.
Covered by free speech. Yes, I do. Everything that he's saying here is incisive deliberately. But what he's very clearly trying to say is that, like, Donald Trump needs to lower the temperature. That's what he's trying to say. It's ridiculous for liberals to...
Yeah. They will never offer me the same fucking charity, which, for the record, I don't even want, okay? You are going to jail, you little bitch, smiling, crying. Okay, chatter. We all know my distaste for Hasan. He literally has demanded Trump deport me in the past. But do we really trust the regime that is lied constantly and use lawfare to silence any political enemy to launch an actual investigation into anything? They'll just define anything vaguely liberal as terrorism next. At least this fucking dumbass is smart enough, possibly because he's Canadian. I don't trust them, but Hasan would never go to bat for liberals who get oppressed by the Trump regime. He should not receive our help. Yeah, our help. Bitch, you have no motion anyway. Okay? This is me trying to help you save yourself. Okay? This is me trying to pull you back to the fucking real world, dumbass. And yeah, they're wrong. I have defended. When Donald Trump tried to go after Destiny, I even defended that. When Donald Trump and his administration went after Jimmy Kimmel, I defended Jimmy Kimmel. When they went after Jim Comey, I defended Jim Comey. Because I have fucking principles. It's so ironic that these people legitimately don't have any fucking principles and spend a good deal of time claiming that I do not and trying to clip things in a way to suit that propaganda purpose. Don Lemon too, exactly. They can't comprehend someone having a moral foundation that they truly abide by, a code of conduct that they truly abide by. It's virtually impossible for them to comprehend this. That's the difference. But fear not. This is just what you're seeing on the internet. And not even all over the internet, because even r/politics, which is comprised mostly of neoliberals that usually despise me, are still very much aware of how damaging this is for free speech. Okay? The overwhelming majority of liberals, when they see this kind of thing happening, they don't like it. Okay? It's just the people that are chirping, that have the loudest voices online, specifically on Twitter, that have this kind of attitude, and they have actively radicalized themselves with radical centrism, radical liberalism, if you want to call it that, into believing that they have the numbers, into believing that, like, the party's base, the Democratic Party's base of self-identifying liberals agree with them, especially when it comes to Israel, and certainly when it comes to things like this. They're wrong. They're hysterical. They're in this very strange, unbelievably right-wing echo chamber on Twitter that, of course, is going to turn me into a major villain. It's Elon Musk's platform. He fucking despises me, right? And these guys have seen it on their algorithms so much that they're defending the Trump administration. They're actively supporting the Trump administration, not just harming a person that they perceive to be an enemy, but harming themselves. Because when I swing from the gallows, I won't be there alone. Okay? You will be there. They'll put you up there too. This is not about radical commentary. This is not about communism. This is not about socialism. This is about dissent. Dissent against a fascist government. It will not stand. Do you understand? Dissent against the fascist government will not stand, which is precisely the reason why they will punish any and all matter of dissent, which includes you as well, unless you decide that you yourself are a fascist too. Here's a funny tweet. I'm on Chuck Schumer's comms team. We're workshopping a Hasan Piker belongs in jail, but under a Democratic president's administration press release. We're on our 37th draft, and someone's placing an order for Chinese. Yeah, Malcolm X. As long as Uncle Sam is against you, you know you're a good man. Malcolm X to Fidel Castro. I was never your biggest fan of Hasan because I personally don't like how you sometimes flaunt your wealth, but do appreciate. Chatter, I promise you, I don't flaunt my wealth. Okay? This is what I mean. I don't flaunt my wealth. Other people will go to unbelievable lengths to try to identify how much each individual article of clothing I've purchased without even knowing where I've purchased that article of clothing or how I've acquired that article of clothing or whether it is at odds with my worldview at all to create this idea that I love flaunting my wealth. You think I wanted my house to be doxxed when I purchased it for myself and my family? No, of course not. This is what I mean. Like right now, I'm wearing Zegna pants. They're very, I'm sure they're vintage, but I'm sure when they were first sold, they were pretty expensive. I got them for $30. But in the future, if they figure out what brand of pants I'm wearing, they'll say these were $700 pants. I got it for $30. Secondhand, thrifted. But it doesn't matter, right? Zegna. Ermenegildo Zegna. Yeah, sounds fancy, like Obama's fancy mustard.
ABC News Chief Washington.
Anyway, let's get to the latest Iran deal. Trump is saying it's been largely negotiated. I told you, once the ink is dried and the troops have pulled out, I'll believe it. Until the last moment, I will not believe it. But there are some signs that we're moving in the appropriate direction. Now, the reason why I say that is because the pro-Israel side, the Israel firsters in America, and obviously the Zionists in Israel are fucking crying. They're crying up and down the timeline.
Correspondent Jonathan Karl will be hosting This Week later this morning. John, good morning to you. Great to see you. So President Trump says a deal with Iran has been largely negotiated. Still no official response from Tehran. But what are your sources telling you about how close a deal could be and what's actually included?
Well, it's not the...
They backtracked already? Oh, God. Israel came in again, I guess.
First time that the president has said we're close to a deal. he said it over and over again and it hasn't come to fruition. But this does seem to be a genuine inflection point. My sources in the region say that a deal is very close. The only question is whether or not the Iranians sign on. The president did a call with our allies in the region yesterday, and they were largely encouraging him to approach this deal, to make this offer to the Iranians. Here's what it is, though, Whit. It is not an end to all the conflict in terms of how to approach the nuclear program. It opens the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians stop blocking the strait. The U.S. lifts the naval blockade, and then it leaves a period of time, I'm told 30 to 60 days, to negotiate those issues that still have not been worked out about Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah, so still some critical discussions and phases ahead. John, I do want to turn to the proposed $1.8 billion fund for President Trump's political allies. It's very controversial, running into serious opposition, including from Senate Republicans. So what happens next with this?
Look, this was open revolt on Capitol Hill, particularly in the Senate. You had a meeting that Senator Ted Cruz described as one of the